to order. I want to recognize some special guests in the room. We have Debbie Dennison, the Executive Director of the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. Welcome, Debbie. I walked in with her this morning and she was just bragging on this group and how much amazing things that they're doing. So I know she'll be glad to see it in person and see current and future state of this force. Also, we have Myra Wilson from the Workforce Development Director from the Cumberlands. Welcome, Myra. And also our two newest board members. We have Kendra Sewell. She's the president of Pan Austin. And Brian Coffey. He's the Deputy Division Manager of Sumitomo Electrical Wiring System. So welcome aboard, new board members. As a housekeeping note, I would just like to remind all of our board members that are zoomed in today to turn on your cameras during the meeting. And also, if you do take action in a vote, please state your name before the vote. That way we know who you are. And since we do have a number of visitors and guests today, just as a reminder, if you are not an official board member, we ask you not to take any voting action today. All right, John, turn it over to you.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you, either in person or virtually. We've had a little bit of a technical hiccup this morning. We've gone from 2 screens to 1 screen, so but I think we can still make this work. I'll just begin with, it's been a very busy summer for this team. We've come into some new resources and funding that you'll hear about. We've experienced growth and transitions both on our team and with our board. And we've continued to roll out new programs and services this summer. For those of you that are new to our organization, the board of directors, we meet 6 times a year. In February, we always present our goals for the year, for the calendar year, to the board and get it voted on. And then we present on our progress towards those goals all throughout the year. In April, we emphasize strategic goal number 1. In June, we emphasize strategic goal number 2, and then which brings us to August. Today, we're going to emphasize strategic goal number 3, which is how we serve our job seekers. In October, we'll look at strategic goal number 4, and in December, we will do a year in review. And so we really have a kind of there's a methodology that we follow. We present this in a very methodical manner, and it's to hold ourselves accountable to the goals we set, to our strategic goals, and to keep the board informed on our progress. So I will close my comments by saying, welcome Kendra, welcome Brian Coffey, welcome Myra, my good friend Myra from the Cumberlands, and welcome to my good friend Debbie Dennison from the K-Web. So we're glad to have you here today. All right, I will turn it back over to you.
Our first order of business this morning is to approve the April 11th board minutes. Board members should have received and read and reviewed those minutes. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Rebecca. I'll approve.
Thank you,
Robin will second.
Thank you, Robin. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the executive committee updates from July 11th. First, the executive committee reviewed a recommendation made by the One Stop Operator Contract Review Committee. That was to consider a proposal from Career Team to provide the One Stop Operator services. So the executive committee did accept that recommendation and we approved the contract proposal. Next up, we discussed the youth career coach update. John updated us on the newly acquired funding from the Kentucky General Assembly to connect the 16 to 24 youth to employment. And specifically, John announced the hiring of Shannon Gotke to serve as the youth career coach for the region. And Shannon is here today. Congratulations again, Shannon.
Thank you.
Third, Don previewed a series of upcoming work-ready boot camps in Logan and Simpson County detention centers. And he'll talk about that a little bit more this morning. And last, the executive committee learned that the recently renewed contract with the Kentucky Adult Ed for Reentry Services, and that's also called Putting Kentuckians First, has been modified from 275,000 per year to 565,000 per year. And this modified contract will run through from July 2024 through June 30th, 2026, or for 2 years. And that's all our updates for the executive committee. All right, back over to John.
Okay. Okay, good morning again. So we only have a couple of voting actions this morning. The first one that I would like everyone to consider is voting on Josh Anderson and John Eaton onto our executive committee. Last June, or at our June board meeting, we had 5 board members depart. They had served with us for 9 years. 2 of those 5 board members were also on our executive committee. And so we needed to replace them. So Josh Anderson and John Eaton were approached, and they happily volunteered to serve on our executive committee. And so with that, if you'll build, Brian, I would ask that the board vote for Josh and John to join the executive committee.
I'll make that motion that Josh Anderson and John Eaton serve on the South Central Workforce Development Board Executive Committee.
Joda Johnson, I second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Joda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, our next one is going to be a little bit new. Similar to the last motion, I'm going to ask for a motion to vote 2 of our former board members into emeritus positions. We've never done this before. Back in November of 2021, as a board, we changed our bylaws to add board member emeritus positions. And this is the first time that we've actually moved, that we're going to suggest that we put some folks in these positions. By definition, an emeritus is a former board member who's invited onto the board as a non-voting member. And they're really there in an advisory capacity. It's an honorific title. You can see there kind of on the bottom, there's some language from the bylaws in terms of who the board emeritus is, what their role is. They have, these are folks that have served with distinction, and they basically will get invited to all the board meetings, all the committee meetings, but they're there in a non-voting capacity. They don't affect quorum or anything like that. But so anyway, I would like to nominate Gretchen Bandy and Chris Boggs. Gretchen was one of our board members that has served for 9 years and was on our executive committee and really invested a lot of time, energy, and emotion into the transformation of this board over the last few years. And the same can be said of Chris Boggs. He is with Fruit of the Loom. And again, he had served on our executive committee at one point in time. He served on a number of special committees over the years, and he has been very, very helpful to our organization over the years. So with that, I would ask the board to consider nominating both of these individuals to be board member emeritus. Okay.
Robin will make the motion that Chris Boggs and Gretchen Bandy join the South Central Workforce Development Board in the role of board member emeritus.
Thank you, Robin. Is there a second?
This is Rebecca. I will second that.
Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, awesome. Okay, moving on. We're clipping right through. You want to check? We've got a couple of new staff. As I mentioned earlier, we've had some growth. So I would like to introduce first. This is the first of 3, Mr. Isa Rafanja Bawa. Isa is our refugee training coordinator. Over this last year, we've received 2 refugee grants. And so Isa's particular grant focuses on refugees that have been here for less than 5 years, that have refugee status, and we want to get them the skills and capabilities they need to join the workforce. So, besides having him, this grant will fund ESL training and some, low cost training programs. And so Issa's been hard at work getting his position socialized throughout the community. He's been recruiting folks, and we are getting this off the ground. All right, next.
Trying to get the correction thing working on the iPad here, so.
All right, Miss Brittany Hippler. Brittany is our reentry and employment services branch manager, which was the position formerly held by Michael Updegraff. Michael Updegraff has recently rotated up to Kentucky Adult Ed in a regional role. And so Brittany was an easy choice to kind of come in and backfill his position, because prior to this, she was with the SITE program and was working very closely with this organization. And specifically, and you'll hear more about this in a few minutes, doing a lot of work in our jails, bringing a lot of different organizations into the jails to serve folks, get them ready to reenter and get them ready for employment. And so we're glad to have Brittany, and she has hit the ground running. So, all right. And then finally, we've already done a golf clap introduction for Shannon, but Shannon is our new youth career coach. We'll talk more about that momentarily. Okay, but we're really glad to have all the new talent join our team. All right, Khalid, over to you, sir.
All right, good. Good morning. So we are presenting our fiscal year FY24 results, and as we know, our fiscal year starts in July and ends in June. So these are the numbers we presented to the auditors, and I hope that probably that would carry to our financial audit financials as well. So as we all know, pretty much 98% of our revenue is cost reimbursement. And so therefore, we have to incur the cost to earn the revenue as well. So we originally, when we budgeted $2.9 million to start with, and then actually we spent $2.8 million to 5. So it's not, we did not leave any money on the table. That's a good part, but we were able to save some of the funds from FY24 to use the first quarter of the FY25 as well. This is the first time we have done it. This is a very good thing that kind of secures future funding, at least gives us some more power to use the money, and then we are not dependent on the state to give us the contract as soon as possible. So sometimes, the contract delays and all that stuff, but this money would help us in the first quarter to pay or reimburse our subgrantee as well as for the board expenses as well. So as we said, we spent $2.8 million for 12 months of FY24. Subgrantee, they spent 1.8. That's according to the budget as well. And the board total expenses $976,000, even though we budgeted $1 million. So there was a lot of savings over the time in different categories and all that stuff. So you can see that definitely board did a good job. And this 57 would help us to use the funds for the first quarter as well. So $116,000, what we originally budgeted, we may be carrying over to the next year to support the next year funding. So we all know that we've been kind of very dependent on the WIOA. The goal is to just do less dependent on WIOA and find some other source of funding to support the organization expenses or growth for the future. As you see, there's a bottom line zero. It means whatever we spent, we already have been collected the funds. We did not leave any money on the table. So these are the good signs up to this point. When you talk about the financial, you want to make sure that you're not leaving money what you receive from the state or for FATs or what have you. That's the full utilization there, as well as and you are collecting as well. So it means all the costs we are incurring, those are allowable expense, and the state paying us. So just want to let you all know. Any questions, any concerns at this point?
Yeah, I mean, so to put a bow on it, financially, we put ourselves in a good position as we came into the new program. Historically, when this board reset a number of years ago, kind of the mindset was, and it's a governmental mindset with governmental money, is if you got it, you spend it by the end of the year. But this money is good for 2 years. And so we had to move ourselves from spending it all, in a 1-year basis to having carryover funds to kind of, smooth things out. And so it took us a little while to get there. And honestly, it's the tornado grant really kind of helped us do that. We were able to kind of lean into that tornado funding that we've got to really conserve our WIOA funding so that we could have carryover funds. And so what'll happen as we carry it over into July, we'll spend last year's funds first.
Right.
And then we'll start to spend the new funding. But that 116,000 should carry us most of the way through the first quarter.
Anyone else have any questions or comments on the financial report? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
This is Rebecca. I'll approve the financial report.
This is Amy, and I'll second.
Thank you, Amy. All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
We'll delay this. All right, motion approved. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we are through the business section of the board meeting, and now we're going to move into the show and tell section, as Brian likes to refer to it. So again, at the beginning of the year, we laid out some aspirational goals, and then we laid out our 4 strategic goals. So I'll start with aspirational goals that we set for the beginning of the year, and these are aspirational because they're aspirational. We weren't sure we could get to it, but we were going to give it a shot. So the first of them was, we were attempting to get the General Assembly to give us money for youth funding, and that actually got approved. Much of that credit goes to Miss Myra Wilson. She led the charge on behalf of all the workforce directors in the state, and she twisted their arms until they said yes. But yeah, Myra's been the real champion on this. So so we're good there. And then revise our workforce intelligence presentation. We're behind schedule on this. I mean, we've got the presentation ready. We are working very closely with the Bowling Green Chamber to really fine tune it. And so we're working with Meredith Rosansky over there. She's pulling in a group of business leaders so that we can present it and really get their feedback. We want to do a trial run of it, see what kind of feedback we get from it, and then fine tune it, and then start to deliver it more broadly across the region. So it's coming, but ideally we would have been well ahead of schedule from where we are now. But again, we've had a lot of other things going on, and we've just been a little bit behind schedule on this one. Okay, let's go to strategic goal number 1. Brian, I think that's where I turn it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody, all the roomies and the zoomies. So we'll talk for just a moment about what's going on with our engagement with businesses. So you can see we set a goal to have 1,000 different engagements or better with businesses. There's all kinds of different ways that could happen. Personalized visits, referring of candidates, presentations, all of those sorts of things. And you can see we're being a little bit more than halfway through the year, we have a little bit more than halfway through our goal. And then we have been since last year tracking those referrals and the count of referrals to employers. And you can see we're well ahead of a little bit more than halfway. Hiring events, the same. So we've had several employers approach us to come and use the space at the Bowling Green Career Center. So we've hosted several of those employers this summer. 2 of those even happened this past week. Got a couple dozen people out. And so it's all about that opportunity and space for the businesses to reach the job seekers and the job seekers to easily reach the businesses. And then those employer data tactics presentations, that's just another way of talking about what John just did about those workforce intelligence. And basically that is to try to get to, we've decided we want to try to reach senior level executive C-suite people at companies. We have a lot of interactions with HR. We'd like to include HR as well as their bosses to give these presentations to. And then some other things that have to do a little bit more with our programmatic goals, but we need employers ready to receive the participants that we put through things are those things on the bottom. And you can see we've got several things in process. So you'll hear a highlight again, like we mentioned at the last board meeting about this career prep boot camp. having placements for transitioning for Campbell soldiers with our internship program called Your Turn. And then having employers that agree to allow their incumbent workers to be trained that have refugee status through a special grant that we have. And then we also want to ultimately, fine tune and develop and deploy a satisfaction survey, to get some feedback from employers versus what we sometimes just get through email and in conversation. We want to be able to start measuring that. So that hasn't quite come together yet either, but those are the updates on the goals we have there. And we do have a story we want to share. We shared a lot of these stories last year, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it's about when a business closes. But I want to ask Jake to speak. And Jake, it might be better if you could stand so that people online can see. And about an event, one of these rapid response events that happened with ARC.
Yes, good morning, everybody. We've had a Jake Wilson. So I guess it's both of us.
Oh, I didn't update that. Yeah, it's not Jake Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to do half and then you're going to do
It's Jennifer.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I guess, the celebrity.
Jake was accused of not being known very well by one other board member.
That's right, that's right.
So now you will be.
Continuing this thing, yes.
Yes.
Well, I know we've had a lot of great information, great news for this board meeting. Obviously, I have the pleasure of bringing everybody back to reality with a rapid response update. But Bianca and I, from time to time, like to update you all on rapid response events that we have in our 10-county region. And so we're going to do that again today. On June 26th, we received a notification from ARC Automotive, or at least 620, when the warn notice went out that, and we'll update that slide, 120 in total employees were laid off at that date. They were immediately laid off, which is a little different from what we traditionally deal with. A lot of times we'll receive the warn notice and then 60 days from that point, the employees will be laid off. But actually from the date of 6/21, all employees were laid off and let go from the facility. So it made for a little bit of a different event from what we traditionally do, and we kind of had to modify our plans a bit. But Bianca and I immediately decided to reach out to HR officials in Knoxville, which is their regional facility. We were able to make contact with a couple of different people in that facility there. And they worked with us to develop a plan that we traditionally use. We traditionally do a 3-phase plan. So as many of you know, I've reported on this before, but we do a community partner event followed by a resume workshop, followed by a job fair. This time, because employees weren't on site, we really wanted to make use of their time as they were here. So on July 17th, we decided to combine a community partner event and a resume workshop. And you can see on the board there, all of our traditional partners were involved. And as I mentioned, sort of alluded to, it was difficult to get employees to come back and to provide information to them as to why this is valuable. And so we only had 9 folks show up to that. We kind of talk about it as we can provide the information and we can bring the partners. It's also kind of up to HR to help us get that information out to employers and to help us explain the value of that. And it's oftentimes difficult to do that, but we only had 9 show up for that. If you want to move slides a little bit. And then July 18th, we decided to do our job fair. So we had 11 employers attend that event, all of them from the 10-county region of Kentucky, of South Central. We decided, since it was automotive, we tried to invite automotive companies first and Butler County companies and combine those. We did have a couple of other manufacturing companies decide that they would find value in that, so they showed up as well. And then we had a higher number, 23 folks attend that event. The good news is we have a job fair. I hope we'll talk about it soon, but job fair coming up on August 28th at the KCC. All of the employees, all 120, are made aware of that event. So if they didn't get information on the date of the 18th, or if they didn't show up at all, they're made aware of another event that we'll have coming up. So hopefully many of those folks will come. I think it's around, Bianca, correct me if I'm wrong, August 21st, August 22nd, when they're done officially.
August the 20th. Yes.
August the 20th is when they're officially done at ARC. So that'll be right around the time when they'll need to really find a new job. So hopefully we'll have an uptick in attendance for that.
So to be clear, they were laid off on 6/21, but they're being paid.
They're gonna
Till
pay
August
them,
20th, yes.
just how they would get paid bi-weekly through August the 20th.
Right.
Yes. So again, lower numbers than we would have liked, but again, responsibility to work as hard as we can to try to make it valuable to as many employees that are there. So if there's any questions on that, we can answer those, but that's the presentation.
Any questions, feedback for Bianca Brown and Jake Wilson? Sorry about that, guys.
It's fun.
I think just the stress of everything moving so fast and then having to stay late, you know.
All right, we'll move on to strategic goal number 2. This was our focus, as John said, at the last board meeting, where it was our theme, but this is where we're trying to align and integrate career pathways.
Next time, team.
And so I will give an update on some of the numbers that we have here. So as far as we weren't showing this to you guys before this year, but we wanted to kind of just show the rolling numbers of enrollment for our WIOA program. So we have several different funding sources now. If you would look at the top right, that adult youth dislocated worker, that's usually our primary WIOA, like fundamental amounts that we get every year. The amounts can change, but that's what we have to work with and operate our board services and our certainly career team services. We have been getting additional grants. So the tornado grant, you guys have heard us talk about that. We're actually in the 3rd and final year of that because of the tornado damage that happened. There's special funding that opens up for natural disasters. And then QUEST is an acronym that is kind of we think kind of leftover COVID funding and things that were designed to get long-term unemployed people into work. And we've been using that for these boot camps, again, that we'll share here in a moment. The 16 to 24-year-olds. So we used to talk about high school students and college students or people that had college degrees that we'd engage. Now that we have Shannon's position, we're just going to call that the youth with that parameter of 16 to 24-year-old. So before Shannon started, a lot of us have done a lot of engagement with high school students. It happens all the time in all of our counties. And we had 2 big job fairs at the end of May where we were able to get a lot of those numbers, but just presentations, resume workshops, bringing guest speakers in, that all happens. So now Shannon will be adding to that number with just individual engagements that she can have to help get and secure employment for these young folks. And that'll also increase our direct referral to employers account, and then the amount of young people that we know are getting jobs. So Shannon's actually in the process of reaching out to those young people that attended those 2 high school job fairs when they were graduating seniors. And we can't really call them seniors anymore. They're full graduates. And so reality should be kicking in about this time when they're trying to decide if they've even gone to college or started that process. And if they haven't, what can we do if they're not already working? So that's where that lies right now. And as far as showing some of the other metrics and things that were more project-based things that we do. Of course, I mentioned those high school job fairs, also assisting some of the local school systems with special grants and initiatives that they're doing. So some of us are showing representation on those projects. And then we have had an ongoing relationship for years with the Bowling Green Area Chamber of Commerce for what they call their SCK launch event. Part of that was what happened in May, so that's why that's green when you see the 120 attendees and 7 high schools. They also do an experience, they call it event with 8th grade students that happens in the fall. So we'll be helping with that as well. So Shannon, I'll let you know the date for that, but that's usually a team effort as well. So we will talk a little bit more about Shannon's specific program with the Pudding Kentucky, it's got a new name now. So John, I'll let you introduce this and then we'll let Shannon say a few words.
All right, yeah, happy to. So as I've been reporting and discussed even a few minutes ago, we received funding from the Kentucky General Assembly. And that was an effort by all 10 workforce boards across the state to go say, hey, we would love, we've never had money from the state, funding from the state. We would love to get some so we would serve youth and put them to work. The common branding that we're going to use statewide is putting young Kentuckians to work. And so as Myra and other workforce directors, have to periodically go to Frankfurt and update our legislators, that's the terminology, that's the branding that we're going to use. The gist of this money is to serve 16 to 24-year-olds, and there's 2 categories. There's graduating high school seniors, and then there are what we're calling disconnected youth. Disconnected youth are 16 to 24-year-olds that are not working and not in school. And so the easier the group to work with are those high school seniors because they're a captured audience, and the harder to find and work with are going to be the not working, not in school. But those are our target demographics that we're going to go after, and Shannon's going to go after. Let's go forward a slide. So this is kind of detailed, but when we look at our in-school youth, this is just laying out the criteria for which youth will qualify for this funding. And so as you read through that, for those in-school youth, those high school seniors, pretty much everybody's gonna qualify. If you go down one, we'll look at the out of school or the disconnected youth. Same story. If they're not working, not in school, we can pretty much serve them, and we're going to. And do we have, is that our flyer?
Outcomes.
Okay, so right now, the main requirement we have from these legislators is we have to confirm employment. We have got to get employment outcomes. So that's our number one priority, but there's other things that we will track along the way. We'll track any skills gains, educational outcomes. We're going to try to track retention, in our effectiveness at serving employers. Shannon, what did I miss, or what would you like to add to this?
Well, first of all, I know a lot of work went into getting this funding, and we're going to work hard to reach all of our goals. And as you said, I think that the big challenge will be those dislocated or disengaged youth. And so we will be depending a lot on our community partners, our access points to collaborate with them, and what's come to my attention in the last couple of days is the difference between I know it's a self-attestation that the youth can do, and it can also be a referral, as you saw on the screen. And I'm going to be working hard to get those all of that information out into the community, to our partners, to our access points, and I know that working together will meet our goals.
All right, thank you, Shannon. So we're going to look at a couple other things for this. We've talked for years about wanting a texting platform to engage customers. I'm going to carve out some of this funding so that we can get a texting platform, because we know that's how youth are most likely to respond to you. So we're looking at different platforms.
It's either that or a drone program, but we think the texting one might be cheaper.
Maybe. Yeah, we're looking at the different we're looking and sorting through the different texting platforms, and so we're going to make a decision on that soon, and we'll start to get that deployed. And then we are looking at different partnerships. The very hardest thing in our line of work, and it's been like this for years, it's not just with youth, it's confirming employment outcomes, because much of our work is very transactional. And employers, as many employers as we bring into hiring events, most people aren't hired the day of. And then we spend a lot of time and effort following up with every employer, usually, and we usually don't do well on that follow-up or get confirm employment. So we're thinking about how do we, for these youth we serve, we have got to confirm employment. So we're thinking through different ways that we might do that. I won't put those cards on the table just yet, but we got some ideas. All right, any questions about this? Myra, do you want to make any comments?
Well, I think the thing to really address is every area of strategy will be somewhat different based on whether you're urban, rural, whatever we need. And we all have goals that we have to meet, and employability is an outcome. So we really need everybody's support to help us make sure that we can, again, get additional funding when the budget session opens up again.
Yeah, we're really looking, it's 2-year cycle funding, but those conversations begin very soon for what's going to happen in the next budget cycle. So we're trying to position ourselves as a group of workforce directors to get some early wins and to make the case to get this funding again. But yeah, I think across the state, there's going to be very different approaches, as there should be, because our region looks very different than other regions. I asked for actually fairly modest amount of money, all things considered, but committed to putting 500 kids to work over a 2-year period. But I felt like we could do it, one, because we've piloted Shannon's position before with Matt, and we know this will work. And we also have the jobs. We have jobs we can put people in, and not every region can say that. So we're going to we are going to do it. We're going to do it.
Let me just pause right there and just ask if anybody has any questions, and we tend to go kind of fast when we sometimes share these highlights, and the main one's coming up. That is our strategic goal number 3. But so far, anything with anybody online or in the room as far as our engagement with employers or programs related to that or related to youth? Okay, Amy Smith Thomas, I don't know if you can, oh, she already had, I just saw.
Hey, I had a feeling, Brian.
Yeah, tell them what you're doing with the FAFSA Fridays.
Okay, let me just fix here. Okay, yeah, we're having what we're calling a FAFSA Friday block party. And the cool thing about it is, of course, I partnered up with, I have Shannon coming, Bianca, Brittany, Kathy and Nikki from Sky CTC. And if I'm forgetting anyone, Shannon, chime in, Bianca, chime in. But, and then Mr. Tuck and I are on board. And also I talked to Judge Fleener. And what I've decided to do is do FAFSA Friday, but also throw in a mini job fair. So that way the students that want to go to school can be working on their FAFSA with Nikki and Kathy. And then the parents or the people that do not want to go to college can approach employers for possibly getting a job. So we're having a block party. It's going to be free giveaways. I spent $750 on just gift cards alone. And how this all got started is I went to a FAFSA boot camp, and part of that boot camp was if you wanted to throw a FAFSA block party, they would give you a certain amount of money in order to do that. And that's what we're doing. We have let's see what else. Free hamburgers, hot dogs, chips, cookies, gift cards, earbuds, speakers, Bluetooth speakers. I can't think of anything else right offhand, but last night I was at the back to school bash. So I was able to promote what's going to happen tomorrow, plus promote, adult ed and what all we provide. So that's what's going on. Hopefully we're going to see what happens. Judge Fleener, Mr. Tuck and I are we're going to wing it and have fun while doing it. So
Great, thank you. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to partner with you on things like that.
And I also want to welcome, I have a new teammate on board. Her name's Lariah Stockton. She does have a Spanish degree and an emphasis in sign language, and she is now part of adult ed with me.
Excellent.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank
Y'all
you.
come out tomorrow, 10 to 2.
Are board members eligible for prizes?
Absolutely.
Or staff?
Absolutely. I'll put you first on the list, Brian.
Okay. All right, we'll move into our attempts to increase the regional workforce participation. This ends up being a lot about our focus populations, as we like to call them. So a lot of the main demographics, we'll give an update here. So again, I'm not showing all the data at once because it's a lot to take in, but these again are these indicators that we're trying to track throughout the year. So with military veteran, I won't really go over those numbers. Those are kind of, slowed down. We don't have our full-time person anymore, Mike Daly. We don't have the ability to continue that position. And so he finished out at the end of June.
End of May.
I'm in the May, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. So those numbers are really going up until the end of May, but there is still some momentum and still some movement there. And John will have a highlight about that. With New American, that's our program that's really about job placement under Anna San Cristofel. So you can see the amazing amount of reach and engagement that's happening and placements that we have, referrals, and then some of the things like even with Laura Torres's program, the incumbent worker training, working with employers, that we've got goals related to that. With ESA's new grant, the KOR vocational training. KOR is the funding source, but that's about trying to get individuals enrolled, and we'll talk about that in a moment too, into some of the same programs we enroll WIOA people into. But again, you can see the amazing output there and effort year to date. And then quite a bit is going on with what we would call our justice involved population. So Quest, got 2 Quest grants. One was focused on youth. I mentioned that one. Another one was focused on justice involved. So we've got 2 jails that are running these boot camps. We'll have a highlight on one of those. And another one is in process to have 2 cohorts, a men's and a women's class happening. So we've engaged about 50 people. So far, 15 went through the program in Logan County. And then there's, it's in process now. Again, I'm not going to spoil the details because we've got a separate highlight about what we were doing to try to refer them to employers. But again, down at the bottom of that column, 1 boot camp is complete, 2 are scheduled. So that one's very much in being launched, and then progress. And Logan County wants us back. So we're very excited to see the success of that program. With Brittany Hippler and Michael Updegraft and what's going on with reentry and employment services, you can see just the amazing number of engagements that are happening there. A lot of the individual employment assists are being routed to our local career center, and so they track all of those numbers. But what I wanted to draw your attention to, and it should probably be like the whole screen, I should have made an animation, but they have a model where people get wraparound service, multiple partners are tracking and following their progress. Brittany's job is to facilitate all of that, and Michael's was before hers. And that's going on and active and will be now in 8 of our 10 regional counties. So it's phenomenal. Targeted orientations, and we've highlighted these before. This is where it's similar to rapid response. The partners come, set up shop, but it's not because something bad is happening. It's because we're trying to engage the general public. That's now going to be happening in 8 out of the 10 counties. And then the jails are just completely fully online. And this is amazing. And Myra, I mean, it's a testament also to a lot of the work that you envisioned when you came to one jail. And that jail turned it off for a long, long time, and they finally got it back on. And Aaron has taken this concept and had it go, and then Michael was having it go. But this is now happening all over Kentucky now. But it's happening in every one of our jails, where the jails have the partners coming in, doing presentations, getting in front of the folks so they can start to make a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for how to get plugged into services and what their future is going to look like. And anyone in this space would also know that IDs and the ID obtainment is a very difficult process. So this is something else that not all the jails were turned on and doing. And this has happened in some jails, and they've launched this idea and, got it resourced now. I guess the jails had their own money. We didn't have to use our money for this, right? Maybe we're using a little bit.
So we've actually allocated specific funding through our branch in the contract for that. But then also just the partnerships outside with the reentry councils and things like that. So it's a collective effort that's made all of this take off and successful.
Let's a little point of context though. When we started, I mean, we're at 8 to 10, 8 to 10, 7. I mean, but 2 years ago, where were we? We were
0.
0 or 0.
1.5.
1.5 counties and really 0 jails.
Right. So we have, like, in the last 2 years, and it's Aaron and Michael and now Brittany have really gotten this thing going.
More Michael than Aaron.
More Brittany is better.
All the credit goes to Brittany.
No, I've been firsthand. I've been at those reentries, and those two, seriously, top notch. They've gotten the buy-in from the jailers themselves. And once they got the buy-in from the jailers, it's a team. It's a team of about 12 to 15 of us at every jail every week. And they've come to expect it now, but the information that the inmates are getting is phenomenal. Testament to these two. Seriously, they've done a wonderful job.
Yep. So just some of those numbers again there. So now what we want to do is have an opportunity to share a few highlights from our WIOA, which is career team, and give career team the opportunity to share. So I think we've got Haley Rhodes is available to, are you going first or Jasmine?
Jasmine.
Jasmine, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm going to toss it to Matt.
Matt Bass.
Yeah. Matt Wilson.
Yeah, this is Miss Vanessa. Now Miss Vanessa, she has been with us for a while in a couple of different positions. She actually started out with the DECO at with CDO. Unfortunately, that position, DECO stayed in those positions with the DECO. And Miss Vanessa found herself laid off. We found her some jobs in between there, which were pretty temporary for just life circumstances. She spent most of her career in temporary positions, seeking stability but finding it elusive. Her journey took a significant turn when she came through the RECE program and was referred to career team. After she was referred to career team, we sent her to Jasmine to get information on work experience, or WEX as it's commonly known. This came at a critical time in Vanessa's life. She had been laid off from NASCO on March the 1st. Actively seeking employment since her layoff, Vanessa faced a series of challenges, and she had not been able to secure a permanent role. She expressed her desire for a stable, long-term employment. She was tired of doing the temporary, jumping from place to place. So understanding her needs, Jasmine introduced her to the Work Experience Initiative and updated Vanessa's resume. This updated resume was shared with one of Career Team's new partners, the Dove Healing Center. The Dove Healing Center welcomed Vanessa, providing her with constructive and meaningful work experience and training activities. Through this program, Vanessa was able to gain new skills, enhancing her employability and confidence. I'm impressed by her dedication and growth. Dove Healing Center decided to offer Vanessa a full-time position at the end of the work experience, which is the ultimate goal of every work experience. We try to go to employers that are going to have something available at the end of that. Vanessa started July 22nd. She expressed her thanks, saying she just wanted to thank everyone at Career Team so much for helping me. She told us we were great people, and she's enjoyed working with each and one of us. She has. We have all been able to, I guess, touch Vanessa on, have a hand in her employability, improving her employability. She's, like I said, she's gone through WEX program. We've helped her with supportive services, but now on to full-time employment. Really sweet lady, hard time in life, and now she's finally got something solid.
Okay, now we get to toss it to Haley.
Hello, everybody. I'm Haley, and this is about Mr. Michael. Michael came to me fresh out of the detention center after spending 14 months there. He didn't really know what he was going to do. He came out and he was having rent already thrown at him, doesn't have a resume, hasn't worked in 2 years, didn't know what he was going to do. He did know that he didn't want to make the same mistakes that he did before and that he needed help, and he was open to get help. And so me and him sat down, we talked about his goals. I wanted to know his short-term goals and I wanted to know his long-term goals. And his short-term goal was, Haley, I need to work. That's it. I just need to work. I don't care what it is. I just need to work. So we got him attached with some temp agencies. He did that for a little bit. And he told me, he's like, I want to go back to school. He's like, I should have done that. I need to go back to school. Just something general, nothing too major right now. I said, okay. So we looked at different colleges that he could do online. He did all that himself. I'm not going to take credit for that. He did that. Then he came back and he's like, plumbing. Plumbing is a good career. And I know that I can do it. And I know that I can make a career out of it. I said, all right. We fixed up his resume. We got him to apply at Stuart Ritchie. He wasn't hearing anything back. And I was like, you got to follow up. Just follow up. It won't hurt nothing. Just follow up. So he did. And Stuart Ritchie called him back, offered him a position, making really good money. He cried and let me know that he was really thankful. It was a hard time that he's had. He lost everything. He said he went from having everything he could have asked for to making some mistakes to having nothing. And to have us on his team and just to listen to him, honestly, is what he said, that we just listened to him. And he sent me that card up there just thanking me after he got hired at Stuart Ritchie. I still get photos and phone calls from him now. He just called me yesterday. He found a gas leak on someone's roof. He was extremely proud that he found that. And we just got him the tools that he needed to be successful at Stuart Ritchie. And he's doing a heck of a job. And he just got a promotion and finished his first semester with Phoenix, Arizona. I think it's online. And he's finished his first semester with an A. So he's really excited and he's going into his second.
Awesome. All right, they're gonna keep coming. Hits keep coming.
Michael was actually my first man hug at work. I met him at Dollar General parking lot down here on Nashville Road. I recognized his picture and was talking to him about it, and he was, when we go out with supportive services, we really get the stuff that's gonna help people succeed. We don't go get cheap stuff that they're gonna have to replace in 6 months. So he was just thrilled and really overcome. He told me about a little bit of his life before coming to a career team and what it's been since, and dude's just super pumped. So I'm glad he's got a new lease on life and something to look forward to every day. This next one's Patrick. Basically all my words are up there. But Patrick, he's from LifeWorks at WKU at the Kelly Autism Center there. We've been trying to work with the Kelly Autism Program for quite a while. It's just kind of hit or miss. We were contacting employers to see which ones would be open to participants from there. Not a whole lot of traction. But for this is really, I think, our first one that's been uber positive. And I think it's going to open up other doors. Patrick is openly advertising for us. He's coming back to us and asking us, hey, where else can my friends here go get jobs at? We're actually working with LifeWorks there to see if they can develop some positions to get people started at work. But as it says here, he started in the accounting department at TJ Sampson. They say he's doing great, arrives on time, stays on task. They have to tell him to take his breaks just because he's focused and dialed in. He bonds with the team, great, which is not something we see all the time. You can see there, he's jumped right in, sitting there with them at lunch all day and keeps them laughing, which is, to us, that's another big important thing, is this that you can communicate well with others and get along with them and building that camaraderie. TJ Sampson reports that they've thoroughly enjoyed working with him. And recently he has started another new project at TJ, learning how to do inventory control, which is another, may seem minor, may seem like a minuscule task, but that's really important for places, especially like TJ.
Actually came across Patrick in the gift shop and he was starting his inventory journey. He was on the floor and the lady at the gift shop said, have you met Patrick? And I said, I have not met Patrick, but I've heard about him. And he was in the floor doing inventory, but he already came across, he had some issues with inventory. This is what I need. And he came and asked what he needed. And we got IT department, got him the computer and program he needed to better do inventory. So he's doing a great job.
Yep. 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 So we will continue to use Patrick's story when we go out and talk to other employers. And hope that builds new connections and new opportunities for others at LifeWorks.
Okay. I'll add a bow tie to this. So I had met Patrick at a WKU LifeWorks event, a great young man. And they just happened to have a meeting like within a couple of days with LaDonna Rogers at TJ Sampson. And LaDonna is the VP of culture.
Yes, culture and engagement.
Yeah, culture and engagement. And so TJ Sampson's very serious about culture. And I didn't go there to talk about Patrick, but somehow he came up. And when I brought him up, LaDonna just leaned right in and said, yes, we are open to this idea. Let's explore this further. So at that point, the handoff was made to career team and they took it from there. But just kudos to TJ Sampson for being an employer that says, okay, we're not afraid of this. These folks, what you'll find at the young people at LifeWorks that are on the autism spectrum, they're high functioning. A lot of them have degrees. They're just learning. They're trying to learn how to live independently and get the skills they need to enter the workforce. So Patrick can drive. He drives himself to work and back every day. So he's just on the spectrum, but a lot of those qualities you see, focused, stays on task, tell him to take a break. Like that guy's dialed in. That's part of being on the spectrum. And that's not a bad thing in a work environment. So anyway, kudos to TJ Sampson for taking this leap.
All right, thank you, career team, and all the people involved in that. All right, so we've got several updates with the New American services and some successes there. And so I want to just say that we have now 3 staff. and 3 years ago, we didn't have any staff. So this is just kind of showing our explosive growth and outreach and interest here. But with ISA that we introduced earlier, this is a little bit of a snapshot of his program. So we've made some postcards. This is one of the postcard fronts. It's got a back to it as well. We're focused on these short-term credential programs, just like WIOA focuses on. And so he has to work with people that have lived here less than 5 years, that have come in through the refugee resettlement process or are seeking asylum or have a parolee status. And so primarily that's going to be people that are from Cuba, people like Isa that have been born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and may have grown up even in other countries through a refugee camp, but are now living here locally. And the goal is to try to get them higher income earning potential. And so he is facilitating a lot of things. I was going to have him just share briefly some of the things that have been going on and maybe the number of people he's been working with and talking to. And you may have to stand up again, yeah, so they can see you online.
Yeah, we have made many outreach and like 250 people have been talking with us, and we have at least more than 42 people need to go to training. But we have like a big challenge is English. You know, many people are from, like myself, I'm from Congo. We have like 5, 6 languages we speak in our country. We have many dialects, so it's hard to us to like going back from one language and staying in like environment where English is the main language. So we have people engaged, but we make progress to get them enrolled in ESL classes, and then we will get them enrolled in training that we provide. Like we have now 15 people interested in CDL program, but they still make progress for English. We have about 6 people interested in Phlebotomy, and also they need some improvement on speaking and reading, maybe writing also. So this challenge, but I know we can make it, and I know these people need us to get them connected to these training providers and also getting job and making a career pathway. Yeah, so yeah, it's a great idea. We get this job opportunity to them. So yeah, we are lucky to have that in our workforce. But thank you.
Thank you, Isa. Isa speaks 4 languages and we're working on Spanish together. 6, and we're working on Spanish together. Yeah.
Language is a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, so we wanted to also, we had an opportunity to talk to a group. We'll talk about this in a moment, but we realized we haven't really talked to you guys as a board of directors about what we're doing with the high volume of people that Anna has seen this year. So back in August, we started to do these group sessions because she had a lot of people coming, and then she'd help them get a job, and then there'd be like mistakes made along the way, or they weren't really understanding their role in the process. There had been a lot of bad advice that they were given maybe before from a friend or a family member. And so we were like, okay, we need to structure this where they come in and they hear some really, really good information in their language. Anna knows a few languages herself. She's trilingual, TRI. I'm trilingual, TRY. I try to talk in different languages, but we're giving these in English and Spanish and in Swahili. And we would like to expand to more languages. We just need that language support. But this has been, I mean, we've had a huge volume of people coming. So we just wanted to kind of outline and show you guys what's going on here, because they're getting about 4 or 5 hours of information. We try to keep it to 2 hours. Anna, they keep you after and talk and keep asking questions, but they're on the edge of their seats. They're glued. They're not on their phones. I mean, this is just great information here. So you can see how we've kind of broken it out. So the first thing, if they knocked on the door, and there might be, I'm surprised nobody's come in yet this morning, but if they say, hey, I need help with a job, I was referred to you or this place, or who's Anna? Okay, here's the next session. You got to come to this. So you can kind of see what we talk about. And then after that, she tells them, well, now you got to come back to another part. So the first part's just like getting the lay of the land, what kind of jobs are available, but we're mostly seeing folks that have very limited English coming. So she could work with somebody that's highly skilled from another country, like Isa, and has a business degree and background, and has run programs. But more times than not, we're seeing people that didn't even finish high school in their own countries, and are kind of fumbling through the U.S. Job market. And so you can see here where we're really sitting them down and telling them very plainly and clearly in their language. It doesn't mean they always get it the first time, but it's for a lot of them just that adjustment of what their role in the process is going to be. And Anna, what would you like to add to this?
Oh, that is perfect.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that is, we will talk about after about all the activities and information that we give in every season, because in these 2.5 years that this position is open, we learned a lot. So at the first moment, we made that person at person, so face to face. And finally, we decide to make these kind of activities because with the quantity of people, we can give the appointment for the participant maybe next life, So we need to create these kind of, activities for our participants to give the information. All time I say that this information is power, the correct information to them.
So I also just threw up the animations here of about 800 people have been coming year to date. I think it's probably more than that, just for that first session. And then when we invite them back, there's not quite as many. But what Anna does is if they don't listen to her, she tells them, you got to come back again. If she helps them get a job and then a couple of weeks later they say, I didn't like it, well, I'm not helping you again. You can go somewhere else, or you got to come sit through this information again, because you need to understand, we tell you in this session, don't quit a job until you have another job lined up. So you need to hear that again. But what this also turns into is the need to help them with online applications, creating a resume. And so we wanted to highlight a very special partnership that kind of emerged late spring and has happened this summer. And we have a special guest to help us with this. But we've got Scott and Murphy. We had an opportunity to present to them this kind of model of what we're doing and how Anna and some of our interns have been working with them. And so, Anna, I'll let you kind of build up to what we're doing here.
Yeah, so good morning, happy Thursday. So in my position, in my role as New American Workforce Navigator, we work helping and supporting all different New Americans communities that we can find in this area. But our goal, our challenge is not only refer them to different companies or give different tools. We really want them to make competitive in the system. And with this tool, they can continue by themselves and build a future here, a new future in the United States. That's why we make a weekly presentation in this office that Brian said in English, in Spanish, and in Swahili. Information meeting, orientation training, resume workshop, and additionally interview training. But because officially our goal is to support and help them. But on the other hand, we try to help and support at the company finding the best candidate possible. That is the case of Scott and Murphy. When Scott and Murphy contacted Paul, Mr. Paul Worry contact us because they are looking for the candidate that has experience working in concrete, especially in concrete. At this moment, we started our job. Looking for the candidate, but not only looking for the candidate, selecting and preparing the candidate. You can see in the picture and the before picture, there's a big group, and this group not only passed all the regular training, so information, orientation, and other, they got a specific training where we talk about the company, in this case, Scott and Murphy, and we talk about what the company does, and what is the requirement to work in the company. So trying to look in the best candidates possible, because it's when we ask at our participant, you have, experience in construction, all us, yes. But to have experience in construction is not only to hammer a nail on the wall, So looking for the candidate, selecting the candidate, and preparing the candidate. And after we have pass at the interview many times with interpreters, and we have the last interview on Tuesday. And our goal and our job didn't finish or doesn't finish at this point. We continued working with the company, supporting at our New Americans candidate, and the company, Scott and Murphy, in the hiring process. this is our goal. And I would like to say thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott and Murphy, to give us the possibility to work together and give us the possibility at our New American participant to work and to be part of this company. And of course, we continued working, looking for a new candidate and new future employees and for Scott and Murphy. I don't know if Paul is online, so I would like to introduce Paul, Mr. Paul Worry, the Vice President of Scott and Murphy.
Thank you, Anna. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you all for having me on. I appreciate it so much. We are 100% excited about the program that you all have developed over there. And I'm going to sing Anna and her staff's praises. They've been absolutely wonderful. And our company, we are a self-performed concrete earthwork general contractor here in Bowling Green. We have around 250 employees, and we are actually employee owned. So each employee of the company is an owner of the company. So that's a tremendous thing for young people and people new to the job in our country here. But I just can't say enough great things about what you guys are doing. Anna has done a fantastic job in not only coordinating all the classes and the resume workshops and helping these folks get prepared for work here in the United States and helping us, so they know the expectation on how taxes work and the hours and just how we conduct business here. And I can't thank her and her staff enough. It's amazing because, she just goes the extra mile. They go the extra mile. The last time I visited the office, she handed me 7 folders. Each of the folder had a ID card with their information on it, social security numbers, to where I could take these back to our HR department, e-verify them, and then we conduct our interviews. You guys provided us interpreters and meeting space to do it, and actually we had some of our folks that work out in the field on the jobs, and they are Hispanic employees. And so we had those people in their interviews with them so they could kind of, describe what the day-to-day activities are. So the participant knows exactly what they're getting into and kind of what's expected. So, yes, there was 4 interviews Tuesday and everything went well, and we're doing background checks on those folks and with the intent to hire. So, we started this relationship with you guys for, I guess it was back 6 months ago, maybe. And so really looking forward, what the future is going to bring for you all and us. We want to support you all and be a part of your program. This is an avenue for us to pursue, to hope find good, motivated people that want to work and hopefully elevate those people in the higher positions to grow and become successful in our company. So I can't thank you guys enough for what your efforts and it's a wonderful thing, and we're happy to get involved in anything we can do for you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
And thank you for your time, Paul, and we'll let you get back to your day. We're really thrilled to have your voice here today and that testimony, and great work to Anna and everybody, because I will say we had an opportunity to speak not only to reps from Scott and Murphy, but to some other construction companies, and there were 3 different ones, and this company was the only one that said, yeah, we can step forward and work with limited English and kind of keep them in a group together. So many times the construction jobs require people going off site individually or being on smaller teams, and so yeah, to go back to that other picture, that big group there, I mean, Anna, they had like 5 or 6 positions and Anna gave them 20 candidates. So like 18, I think, candidates, and they interviewed like 16, 17 of them, but yeah. So it's just like, Anna and I, we joke, it's like there's a crack in the window and we try to make it a door, and bust it wide open. So it's, there's definitely plenty of people that want to work, and it's great to have this partnership. So thank you, sir.
Thank you guys again. We look forward to the future opportunities to work with you guys. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you. You too. All right. So we wanted to say, oh, look at that picture, Aaron Pointer. Okay. So we had an opportunity to talk about what we're doing because for those of you guys that may not know, there's really not another workforce board doing this specifically through their workforce board or even their career center in the state. I mean, there's a lot of places that might serve refugees and immigrants, but those are usually the resettlement agencies, usually located in Louisville and Lexington. So to have a program like this that's just doing employment services that doesn't necessarily always have it be just for refugees is pretty unique. So we were asked to speak to SETA, which, John, I'm going to defer to you what that stands for, but
It's the Southeastern Education and Training Association.
there you go. Okay. And so this was the first time Amy Glasscock, who was the previous Lexington-based workforce board director, has organized that, and we had that day. And boy, the Cumberlands and South Central sort of gave birth to a lot of things that dominated the day, right, Myra? So, so yeah, we had, from Aaron talking to, you talked, Myra, about this youth funding and things, and then we had an opportunity to talk about New Americans. So we were able to do that on July 25th up in, well, depending where you're from, how you pronounce that word. And then we've been invited to speak to the regional conference that'll be in Savannah in September. So we'll be giving very much the same presentation on kind of our lessons learned working with New Americans. So I just wanted to make a quick highlight about that. And also, we've presented on this resource before, but wanted to let you guys know that this has been fully converted. It was in Google slide form before, this jobseekermap.com. We would encourage you to check this out. Those are the languages that are up. I think Pashto is in the process of getting added and will be the last one. And so there are text-based and audio versions of all of them except for Pashto and Karenni, and then Pashto and Karenni aren't really read and understood very well in those communities. And so they speak the language, and so we made video-based versions to go over resources. But all of the employment services in the region, all the ESL providers, training programs and opportunities, and some miscellaneous resources are available there. So we have financial support from the Kentucky Office of Refugees that gave us basically to convert it into a website and to add those other languages, since they have a vested interest in making sure refugees know where to go for help and can get stability. But then Tyson Food also gave us a contribution through My Workforce Future, our sister nonprofit, that allows us to do these kind of extra additional projects. And so this thing is out and about, and now it's going to be a beast to keep it updated and make sure it works and make sure people are using it. So
this was not cheap, but we didn't spend a lot of money on it, really.
Right.
I mean, every one of these languages had to be subcontracted out. The video production and the audio production had to be subcontracted out. But credit to Brian. Brian found these folks to do it, and we got them. We got a contract drafted up with them, and then we've largely got almost all this. All of it was almost all been funded or reimbursed through Kentucky Office of Refugees. With a little bit of the Tyson funding going towards it as well. So
yeah, the refugee funding was to convert it, and the Tyson is going to be more to promote it. So we do have some fridge magnets, and we got signage and banners, and we need to do paid Facebook ads. We need to now start promoting it and blasting it out there.
And Frank, our one-stop operator. There you are, Frank. Frank told me yesterday, anybody that comes into the Kentucky Career Center, as they kind of come in, they have to fill out there's a little intake form, but if they do not speak English, it gets flagged. It comes up as a yellow banner. So every one of those folks they get a hand of the fridge magnet and some promotional material on this. And Frank, I mean, you said the feedback has been really good so far.
Yeah, which is also another thing that hasn't really happened before. I mean, Google is only so good, but you can get lost in Google, and then AI is trying to do a lot of things to say, are you looking for this? And it's like, I don't know if I'm looking for that. And then you don't end up seeing local resources. So we came across this with Justice of All Population and had to build a resource years ago. And, it's just, you repeat so many things to have something where it's all kind of sitting already and people can go look it up themselves, and it's vetted, it's curated, it's trusted. It's important that we're sending people to trusted sources of information. So that will do it for our New American highlights. I'll turn it over to you, John, for this update.
Yeah, so, as I reported earlier in the year, our position at Fort Campbell, which was being funded by the city of Bowling Green and Warren County Fiscal Court, that funding came to a close, after 2 years. The city and the county, we're really thankful that they funded that position, but, the overall numbers that they needed to see, we just weren't quite getting there, and so they chose not to continue funding that position. Now, that said, we'd still had other things going on there besides a position. And one of those is that we had entered into an agreement with the Fort Campbell Army Career Skills Program Office. We applied to be an internship provider a year and a half ago, and it took 13 months, actually almost 2 years ago. It took 13 months to get that approval pushed through the Fort Campbell leadership, and it finally came through last December. And so in December, we got approved to be an internship intermediary or be an internship provider here in the region. We didn't really do much with it in December because it's kind of a dead period, and then we started to get this off the ground in January. So the gist of it is we've branded this Your Turn, and that's how we're promoting it at Fort Campbell. We've got infrastructure at Fort Campbell to promote this program, but Your Turn is really, it's a play on words for your internship. So what we're telling these active duty service members who are in their last six months of duty is that we will help you. If you want to do an internship in the Bowling Green, Brad region, we will help you find it and we will customize it to fit what you want to do. So, Your Turn is just a play on words for your internship. And so we're actively promoting that. We've got one guy. There's one gentleman right now who's doing an internship with the Bowling Green Police Department. We've got another guy that's interested in working with the Bowling Green Police Department. But you can see down there in development, Jordan, she's already interviewed with Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce to work on their annual magazine. She wants to do something in media. Catherine has an interview coming up with Brad. She technically wants to be she wanted to be a technical writer. There's not a lot of technical writing positions in our region, but there are grant writing positions. So Brad is going to interview her in the next week or two. And then, anyway, we've got a couple more. So this is kind of less about volume. It's less about quantity, and now it's about quality. And so as these folks reach out to us, we talk to them. And then once I talk to them, like I talked to Edward yesterday afternoon for the first time, after this meeting today, I'm going to make some phone calls to some companies and talk about Edward and see if they want to take him on as an intern. These internships don't cost employers anything. They're free. It's free internship as far as the employer is concerned. As far as the Department of Labor is concerned, they don't look at it as an unpaid internship because these folks are still on active duty. They still have all their full pay and benefits, healthcare. And so this is really just about these service members getting an opportunity to learn learn a civilian position, start learning the lingo of an industry and getting something they can put on the resume for when they do step out of the military, which again will be in less than 180 days. So this is continuing to move forward. It's going to be Wednesdays and Tuesdays instead of 10s and 20s.
All right, now we get to hear from Justice Involved Service Programs and Updates. So there's going to be a couple of different things here, but I'm going to turn it over to Brittany Hippler. And I just have this one slide, so you guys can speak from this if you want to.
Oh, okay. Do I need a mic or anything?
I'm trying to get that thing to turn so that.
Thank you. You're always there for me.
Now they can see.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So yes, as Brian said, we are doing a lot of things in all the counties. Fridays, as Chad mentioned, are my favorite because I like to tell everybody I go to jail on Fridays just to be fun, and a lot of people will shake their head, but I love it because we get to be in front of inmates and talk to them about their resources, and that's what some of those pictures are. And then targeted orientations we have are great for the general public to get to come in and meet and see what resources are available. I have a success story I'd like to share from being at the jail. So one of my very first pre-release classes on my own without my great commander Michael here, was July 3rd, right before a holiday, which was fantastic. And I was talking to this guy and he comes up and he says, "Hey, I'm getting out in 45 minutes. And I was like, "Cool, call me. Let's figure this out. Where are you going?" He was coming to Bowling Green and Victory Lane, sober living. And I said, "Well, tomorrow's a holiday, so it's going to be a little difficult, but we'll figure it out. You do have somewhere to stay." So we talked on the 4th of July, and I was able to get all of his information and get his stuff sent over. He worked with the Career Center with Sydney, and he was able to get a job that following Friday, so he wasn't kicked out. And he was able to do very well, but he is utilizing the Hope House transit system to get to his job. So it was just really cool to see it kind of all work together 45 minutes after he got out, and we were able to chit chat, and he's still doing very well. He did already have his ID, thankfully, though, so that was good. So that's kind of what's been going on in our world, and I just love it. I love talking to everybody. I love getting all the resources for them. I love helping them. It's a little difficult not to be a case manager and follow up with them daily, but that's okay. So yeah. Do you guys want to say something?
No, I mean, you talked about the events, and I think that's good. And I think one thing to focus on is where is the success with justice involved individuals coming in. And part of that is we're firm believers that information breeds opportunities and opportunities breed success. And that's really where it starts at the ground floor inside the detention centers. Is we're bringing information to the individuals to help them start shaping their pathway for reentry. That information that breeds opportunities because they have contact information, they have faces to names in their local area. Our navigators have their cell phone numbers inside the pre-release folders with the tagline that if you were getting out of Logan County, for example, and you're not staying in Logan County or you're not staying in South Central, that doesn't mean ignore this folder. It means call our navigators. We will get you plugged into either one of our other navigators and one of the regions we're operating in, or with some of our state partners that are in all 120 counties. So the other aspect that we're really getting, and Brittany's story kind of alluded to that, is that there is that delta between information inside, release, and then what? So the capturing piece is where the success is coming in, because they hear from us most of the time up to twice, because we're focused on individuals within about 90 days of release. We're in all of our smaller jails every other month. Our larger facilities, we're in there once a month. So they're able to hear this information minimum one time, most of the time twice. And through the Putting Kentuckians First county by county model, they're able to scan their QR code without having to leave. I mean, they can do it at the minute they walk out of the facility if they have a smartphone or can borrow a smartphone. And we're able to capture them into the system so we don't lose them in that time period of release and the next day. So from then we can plug them into the entire workforce system, which is all of our state partners between OVR, CDO, Office of Employer and Apprenticeship, Kentucky Adult Ed, the workforce boards in those regions. We're able to immediately get them engaged into that workforce network and be able to start working through them with their barriers. So that's where the strength and the growth of the program is coming in. The other thing is, if that bottom right picture is an orientation class, and I believe that's in Butler County. So these orientation classes, we do every single month on a repeatable, reoccurring set of calendar to it. We're going to be in Butler County the first Tuesday of every single month from 11 to 12:30, rain or shine. Shannon and I have been in there when it looks like a tornado outside, with a room full of people receiving the services. And what those orientation classes allow us to do is, if you look at our PKF tracking sheets and our PKF flyers with the QR code, that extends those digital arms of the Kentucky Career Hubs, which is really important when you start thinking about some of our more rural counties in South Central, like Monroe, that's an hour and 15 minutes to 803 Chestnut Street, right? So we extend that digital arm for them to be able to capture into the workforce system. The orientation classes, now we have a physical presence in all those counties where it's launching, where guaranteed once a month, whether it's probation and parole, it's the specialty courts, it's AOC pretrial, it's community-based organizations. They know if you show up to this venue on the second Tuesday or the third Wednesday or the second Monday, whatever is scheduled, you're going to be able to go face to face with all of these state partners that are engaged in that workforce development piece and get real kind of hands-on, what are my next steps? Where do I need to go? We're able to capture them into the Putting Kentucky's First system and plug them into the right partner based on that assessment. It's also an opportunity for us to once again talk about all our programs and bring that information, which breeds opportunity, which breeds success, by being a physical presence at each one of those counties. And then, you know, we kind of carry that into those biweekly PKF meetings with all those same state partners, where we have the ability to, we go line by line, county by county. What's going on with Jim Smith? Oh, he's got his resume, he's ready for work. What's going on with Sarah? Well, Sarah has her resume, she started her first job, had some hiccups. Great, let's re-engage. Or this barrier came up and we worked together collectively as a partnership to figure out how do we get through this barrier to still get that person to their level of success. So it's all of those touch points, all of those workforce engagement pieces that are helping these individuals really get to, for them and for everyone in the community, to start caring more about who they are and who they're going to be versus who they were. And that's where this program is just continuing to blow up. So we do appreciate all of the partnerships because it's all of us linking arms together to have communities build communities, and that's what our focus is.
You know, I'll finish this up and I won't talk very long. I'll be brief, right?
I don't know if that's.
I went to the Jobs for the Future conference in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. They had a specific reentry track. And it was standing room only. There was people outside in the foyer trying to hear the things that were going on. And we were hearing and having conversations with individuals from across the nation. And the really cool thing about being a part of that is Kentucky and us, we were not sit and listen. We were engaged, right? It was things that we were doing and it wasn't ones and twos and we have one success story. It's like, look at our model, look at what we're doing. We were an active part of the conversation. And that was really, you know, that was something that really stood out. And I was very excited to come back and tell, you know, everybody on our team, but, you know, we are going to be presenting at the National Workforce Reentry Collaborative in Colorado this year as a state leader of best practices. You know, we're doing that with Goodwill, right? Okay. And so that was the really cool thing. And so I talk about all this this afternoon. Mike and I are going to present at the Governor's Local Issue Conference. And those are really cool things that I've, you know, that big things, right? But that started from an idea and a partnership between South Central's board and the Cumberland's Workforce Board, where I got a job description that was about half of this sheet of paper, you know, and they were like, hey, let's try this thing out. And so the way that everything has really taken off has been because of our good partners. You see the pictures, you know, we don't do any of this alone. It's that collective impact and our mutually reinforcing activities. And then the KWIB, of course, getting involved and being supportive and really taking this thing to the next level. Specifically in the South Central region, you know, I served in that role for a little while and I did okay, right? I'll say that. Mike come in and really just doubled down and was really able to expand a lot of those partnerships. And Brittany is expanding, but then also going deeper because she is very focused on this 10-county region, and that's what she's responsible for. And not only are we getting wide throughout the Commonwealth, we're going very deep within our communities. And I'm happy to report that we are the Reentry and Employment Services branch is the largest branch in the Office of Adult Education now. And we're going to post an additional job, hopefully this week or the first of next week. So there's a lot of steam behind it, and it's our success is because of the great partnerships and that vision and that grace that was given by both boards and the board leadership and supervision to let us try this thing. You know, that's what it was. It was like, let's see what we can make happen. And they, Mike and Brittany, have done a phenomenal job in the South Central region, and we are just continuing this thing on, going across the Commonwealth. So.
All right, John, I'm gonna, if you want to maybe transition for this or leave, I'm gonna share the screen so I can
Yeah,
pull
I'll
this
set
video
this
up.
up. So last fall, we had an opportunity to work with the state on a grant. It's called Quest for short. And the state said, okay, the state had won the money from the Department of Labor. And so the state said, you can apply for $200,000. So I applied for two $200,000 grants, one for rural youth and one for reentry. But the idea was the same for both. We had long wanted to kind of establish what we call a work-ready boot camp. Put folks through something very short, very intense, get them a couple certifications, brush them up, get them ready for the workforce. And so we got that money. We got both grants awarded. We ran our first boot camp. It was a joint venture between Hart County High School and Job Corps. We ran it at the Job Corps location and we piloted it. And it's a 5-day boot camp. And those 5 days, individuals get an OSHA 10. They get first aid, CPR, defibrillator training. They get financial literacy training. They get soft skills training. And so that went really well, that first iteration. And then about 3 weeks ago, we ran this boot camp again in the Logan County Detention Center. And it's 5 days, but we had to spread it out over a 2-week period. But with Logan County Detention Center specifically, it was the 5-day boot camp. And then they wanted a day 6 where we would come in the morning and do career preparation, resume work. And in the afternoon, bring in employers for a mini job fair. And so that whole thing went really, really well. We put 15 inmates through that training through the boot camp at Logan County Detention Center. And then WNKY was just here a few minutes ago. That was Michael from WNKY was the one that put this segment together. So you're going to see a 3-minute video segment that was really well done.
Quality of life for inmates facing release. News 40's Michael Ridgway reports.
I remind these men and women every day that some of them will look down and I'm like, this is just a glimpse. This doesn't define who you are. Your legacy is what you make it. It's just a moment in time.
This week, inmates, or students rather, have been enrolled in a work-ready boot camp and are ending the week with a job fair trying to set them up for life past incarceration.
Folks coming out of reentry and recovery face a lot of barriers to employment. They have a lot of obstacles and hurdles. And so, we just try to provide services and programs that help remove those barriers. So as they come out, they can get on their feet as quickly as possible, make restitution, get housing, get transportation, and get themselves up and running.
Everyone makes poor choices and runs into pitfalls here and there. But it's not about where you've been, it's about where you're going. And this job fair hosted by the Logan County Detention Center is trying to offer inmates their first step in a new direction.
I want every one of them to be successful, to leave our facility, and when they get to start over, go find a quality job and then build on that.
During the camp, students have received multiple certifications and attended financial literacy and soft skill courses, positioning soon-to-be released inmates for future success.
Doing this boot camp work ready program, it's been awesome. It is. It's a good thing because it's hard to come out of an institution and try to go right into the workforce. Because like you say, a lot of people don't want to hire people like us. They frown on us. And then us to get out there and have money in our pockets or money in a banking account when we get released is a good thing because we know we got a place, money to be able to support our housing, money to support our transportation, and money to live on, to get started on a fresh and new life, to start over.
Jailer Toomey said he wants both inmates and the community to know that the job isn't just about housing, it's about rehabilitation and improvement.
I want to change their path and by opening up opportunities like this and not just them sit and pass the time staring at four walls. That's not helping them. All that's going to do is perpetuate the cycle that many of them had been in the past as a revolving door with a local jail. I don't want that for them. I'm excited, and I want to thank all the businesses that sent representation, whether it be the owners or HR departments, managers that come in from the local community. I just want to extend that thank you for this reentry effort. Some people aren't as open to it, but you got more and more that's coming around, but they deserve that second chance, and that's what we want to provide for them.
In Logan County, because local matters, Michael Ridgway, WNKY News 40.
You got to do that for me.
To Logan County recidivism.
Hey, Michael, I mean, I haven't had, I mean, that is such a well done segment and I really appreciate you being out there.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem at all. I really, I like going to stuff like that. I really do. And I like to see, everybody's, efforts come to fruition. It's really special. So.
Well, thank you. On the job fair that was going on in the background, we had 8 employers and what we did was, and there were 15 inmates, but what we did was we made them speed date. So every inmate had 7 minutes with every employer. And so they did 7 interviews. And the employers, I'll tell you, the employer feedback was really positive. They were so impressed with these guys. And I said, I was there for, I think, all but 1 day of the boot camp. And those guys were into it. I mean, they were very serious. They were very earnest. They were very well behaved individuals. Brittany was there. I mean, they were great. They were a great class. So, we, I kind of left feeling very, very, very good about that event. In my role, I don't often get to work with people directly. That's not really what I'm, the purpose of my job, but I got to kind of be there working with people firsthand. And that was really, on a personal level, was very rewarding for me. So.
And we're definitely living in the Marvel multiverse. If NKY is showing up to film a story of an NKY story, like, we got to keep this loop going now.
Right.
Like, all right.
John, if I may, real quick so these partnerships are critical. And in South Central we have some of the greatest jailers. They're all open. They're all focused on the right thing, which is getting people to where they're going to be. But Jailer Toomey, there's not a week that goes by that I don't talk to him a minimum of 2 times. He calls me all the time because he is truly focused on the rehabilitation and reentry of those entrusted to his care. And that's where this stuff really starts taking off, is when we're all working in the same direction. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Logan County and Joshua Toomey and all of our jailers.
You can't do a boot camp like this without them.
You cannot.
And so on Monday, we go into Simpson County and we'll be there for 2 weeks. Next week will be a 5-day course for men. The following week we're doing a 5-day boot camp for the females. So it takes, they got to buy in. I mean, you can only dance with the people that want to dance with you, right? I mean, and that guy, he's awesome.
And out of his own pocket at every pre-release class, he lays a spread out for individuals coming to pre-release with snacks and soda. That's why you go.
That's why I go.
He picks that one, yep.
But just because he sees it as like, man, this is your first step to freedom and you need to be treated like a person. And it's just his heart for our people is unbelievable.
We were providing snacks every day. And after day 1, I was like, man, these guys make locusts look like amateurs, man. They were crushing those snacks because it's a treat for them.
Yeah.
And the pizza, don't forget the pizza.
Yeah. We got them lunch too, so. Well, the lunch was my bribe. That's how it's.
Yeah. Come back for the second half.
It works.
Okay, let's get to the finish line. Is this me?
Yes.
Okay, strategic goal number 4. This is our 4th and final strategic goal. We're well on our way on most of these. Fiscal compliance, we are in progress or in the process of being audited. We have new auditors this year. That's been this new audit firm. I mean, we're happy to work with them, but we are a very difficult organization to understand. And so we particularly Deronda has been very tied up with, trying to answer every question that they've got, because this is kind of a funky organization, reimbursement back through the state, some of our funding is reimbursement back through adult ed. So it's just really, from an auditing standpoint, we're difficult to understand. So that's underway, and that should be wrapped up by the end of September. We always come into our October meeting and present the audit findings. Everything else is doing well and is pretty well on track. Let's go forward. Okay, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but this is a slide that we will show periodically throughout the year. This just really tries to demonstrate the size and scope and level of activities of our organization, I had to add a column for this particular meeting because we've had some growth. But what I've done for each person on our team, just kind of put out 3 big projects that they've kind of got going on. So, you see, I won't go over all these, but one thing, I'll mention a couple of things on this. First, I do want to let everybody know that Leslie has been on medical leave through July and will be on medical leave through August. She's had to have a pretty significant surgery that's already taken place, and that went well. And she's got about 3 to 4 weeks of pretty intense physical therapy. So we have been without her services for a little while. Hopefully we've masked that pretty well, and we'll continue to be without them for a couple more weeks. But she's doing well, and I had her permission to just give everybody a quick update on her. Highlighted there in that top left, the process improvement for WIOA and performance analysis. So one of the things that's doing a little bit differently, we've changed up the structure of one of our meetings from more of an operational focus to more of a performance focus. And so I've kind of charged Brian with leading that effort, and also Jessica Calvert, who is our quality control person. But we collect lots and lots of data, and now we're just like, okay, let's do a better job of analyzing that data. What can we glean from it? How can we improve our performance? We do both internally for the things that we're trying to do, and then there's certainly some performance requirements that we've got to meet with the state. And we largely do pretty well meeting the state performance requirements, but we think we can do even better. We've recently gotten some access to some state systems that let us better kind of see how they're deriving some of their performance metrics, which allows us to kind of troubleshoot. If our metrics don't match their metrics, we now have the ability to go in and kind of troubleshoot that and work with the state to resolve any differences that arise out of the performance metrics. So that's something new. We've had pre-meeting, we've had our first meeting, our second meeting is next week, and we're still kind of working through how the meeting's going to roll. But the meeting is not just at the board level. It involves career team, it involves career development office inside of it's our whole Kentucky Career Center system to analyze how well we're doing and obviously we want to improve our performance and provide better customer service where we can. Joshua Zazek, he's working on the presentation that we're going to do with C-suite executives and HR leaders. We've dubbed it Workforce Turning Point. And that's the same one I mentioned earlier that we're working with the chamber on. The gist of what we're trying to present, and we have lots and lots of data, but we're trying to present to our local business leaders what the workforce is going to look like in 3 to 5 years, because because there's change that's going on right now. And we just got to get it in front of decision makers, understand like that. If you think the labor force is tight now, just wait. It's going to get tighter. But there's things that our local employers need to be aware of that they can start doing, that maybe they can start doing to get ahead of this thing. And then lastly, target orientation events. Okay, you guys have kind of touched on that already pretty significantly, but those have become very, very powerful engagements with many partners that's going around county by county, bringing those services to every county. Okay. And then lastly, I started this conversation in June. WIOA is up for reauthorization. We got an update when we were at that SETA day a couple of weeks ago in Versailles or Versailles, depending on how you want to say it. One of the presenters gave us an update, and so I'll just bring some of that into today's meeting. First, a little background. The WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, has been around for a number of years, and it is up for reauthorization. The U.S. House of Representatives had already, when I presented this in June, they had already, passed their version of it. And then shortly after our June meeting, this U.S. Senate came back and presented their version of it.
There's a lot of speculation that this reauthorization will pass this year. Let's go forward a slide. Oop. Okay, so currently, I forgot to update this. So in the U.S. House, the U.S. House has proposed eliminating all federal funding for youth activities in their budget. That was something they tried to do last year with Job Corps. That was successfully fended off, and Job Corps got fully funded. But again, they're within the U.S. House of Representatives. There's at the federal level, there's a lot of consensus around eliminating youth funding, which, you know, we obviously don't want to see, but we're also very thankful that the state is starting to invest in youth funding, as we mentioned earlier. So initially, there was conventional wisdom that this reauthorization would happen prior to the election, because let's be honest, the House and the Senate haven't really passed anything in the last few years meaningful, and it's an election year. But with everything that, you know, what this gentleman conveyed to us with Joe Biden deciding not to run again, and with everything going on with his replacement, there's a lot of upheaval going on within DC, and that maybe this would, instead of passing this summer, maybe it would pass this year, but probably after the election. So we don't know. I think we're gonna find out when it passes, when everybody else does. But what we do know for sure is when it passes, whatever passes, we are gonna have to make major adjustments to. And so, you know, I'm myself, Myra, we're trying to pay very close attention to this. Debbie, I'm sure you are too. And as you know, what I want to do upon passage, once we know what we are looking at, is ask for our board members, let's form a committee of board members so that we can navigate through whatever changes that need to be made operationally. So we haven't called that together yet, because right now it's all speculation. The House version is very different than the Senate version. At some point, they got to go behind closed doors and come to some agreement on what it'll ultimately look like. And then from there, once it passes, which will probably be in the middle of the night, and then we'll find out what we're dealing with. So any updates on the reauthorization? So I guess to summarize it, I think the general feeling is it's less likely to pass this summer and more likely to pass later in the year. But pass nonetheless, because it's got to be reauthorized at some point.
All right, so we'll just move and open it up to the board members. Any final questions or discussion, comments, feedback?
Hey, John.
Yes.
Has it been discussed in Frankfurt or anywhere else about the redesignation aspect of that?
What do you mean by redesignation, Justin?
Part of it was the redesignation of local board areas.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, both versions, the Senate and the House version, have a lot of language about redesignating workforces. Both versions agree to allow the governor. What happens right now is when WIOA gets allocated, it's allocated by formula down to every state. And then that same formula is used to determine the allocation to each of the 10 workforce areas. But right now, when the allocation comes into the state gets to peel off 15%. 10% of that is governor's discretionary spending. 5% of that helps fund salaries and operations within the cabinet. So right now, when those funds come in, the state gets to keep 15%, the rest gets distributed out. Both versions, the House and the Senate, both have language that says the governor can keep an additional 10%. So, you know, now if that passes as written, then the state would peel off 25%, and there's 10% less to each workforce area in theory. So, yeah, unfortunately, both the House and the Senate version keep that language. So, yeah, we are very sensitive to that. We're well aware of that, and that's why, I mean, from my vantage point, it's increasingly important that we find other funding sources beyond just WIOA, because almost certainly WIOA is going to reduce to some degree.
So, I've been doing everything I can to apply for other grants, generate revenue. Anything we can do to diversify our funding. So that we can offset any reductions in WIOA that may occur down the road. Yes, Justin, very good question.
Okay, anybody else? Or I'll just move forward to any public comments or questions from our guests. Anybody that's not a board member might have anything.
I just want to say on behalf of the KWEB that South Central, the Cumberlands, you all in a regional aspect do an excellent job. And we're just happy to be here. We're certainly honored to be a part of the success stories that you all are lifting up, the excellent programs that are being united through the work done that started off locally and then turns regionally and is now going to be spreading across the state. That's the idea of the collaboration piece of it. It's the idea of working with the Goodwills and the community actions and making sure that we're putting our arms around these folks that need our helps, removing the barriers, right? So I know that KWEB staff we are going to be at your meetings whenever we can, whether it's virtually or in person. But keep lifting things up, ask the questions. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know until the last minute. So I think that was well said, but you've got a governor right now that is very focused on economic development and the workforce development part of that. So timing is right for these great things to continue. So keep asking. But thank you all for your hard work.
Debbie, thank you for being here.
Yes. Okay. Anybody else? This is one of our longest show and tells of the year, by the way. So it's hard to lump all this into one meeting with so many different staff that run so many different programs. But there is a little bit of maybe feedback we need. I don't know if we've got time today for this, but our next meeting actually falls on what might be a lot of people's schools fall break. So we don't know how well that's going to affect our quorum, our attendance and things like that. So we plan to, I think, send out a communication, ask for that feedback from you guys, because I don't know if we can adjust the time or work around that, but we kind of just want to know if that's even something to take a look at or not. Because I know a lot of people with kids, if you have kids, and you might take time off for fall break as well. So
we'll, after this meeting, we'll send out a doodle poll or some level of poll to see who has availability that week and who doesn't, and then we'll look for if we need to shift this thing by a week or so, we will. We've never done that before, but I don't know that it's fallen into fall break like this before either.
No, it's pushed back pretty far.
Yeah.
It just.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time and attention today. And thank you to everyone that works day in and day out to make all this happen. It's just really remarkable and very impressive. And I'd say see you guys back on October 10th, but TBD on that. So hope y'all have a great rest of your week. And this meeting is adjourned. Yeah.